Hey, Dream Talkers. Um, Today we're talking with one of my favorite people in the world, Mike Z. Anyone from the Paul Hederman Zen Bitch Slap cohort will know about Mike. He's the technical support um, meeting leader, just all around amazing guy uh, who's really provided an amazing service. We wouldn't have Paul, I don't think, in post-pandemic in the Zoom world without Mike's help and his very very generous service. But besides that, he's just a really cool dude and amazing mind, and so much fun to do some verbal jazzing with. I joked with him afterwards. Instead of calling this Dream Talking, this episode should be called Dream Laughing because we just spent a lot of time laughing about the dreaming, about life and reality and the absurdity and hilarity of it all. So I hope you guys laugh along with us, that you enjoy, and if you do, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Namaste. Enjoy.
Um, let's see. Are you
Now
muted?
I'm unmuted. All right.
And this one's already set to record, and I think the settings are already such that I can share the link, that goes to the cloud recording for you to
Nice.
download.
Okay. Awesome.
Oh, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. I was getting really close to saying we'll just do an off the recording chat just for fun. I was thinking when I got home about like there's something about doing this for me. It's like when you're a kid and you play house, you know, you play like you're a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
There's something for me because like I like all the quote professional podcasters, and this is like we live at a time where I we could make believe too, and we could play, but it's kind of real too because it really does go out there on the web, and
Yeah, yeah. Plus, yeah, kind of and the playing is encouraged, right? Instead of taking yourself so seriously. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So you
Like
can actually, yeah,
you ever get a sense of nervousness, like oh my god, I'm recording a podcast. Like it's just a good little reminder.
mm,
It's fun, man. It's just play, and it's a good excuse. I want to catch up with you. I haven't really since you've made it to the East Coast. So tell me everything.
well, we just came back from the inspection visit, so within a few days that should be a done deal. And it was a really nice visit. We liked it even more this time, the house. So
Nice.
it's got I got a chance to go traipsing into the woods. It's on a great property. It's
That's
like you don't
awesome.
go far, and there's the Appalachian Trails only like a mile away.
Wow.
There's pond and lake on 1 mile in each direction.
Yeah. Dude,
Um,
yeah. Talk about feeling like a kid again, right?
right?
Like you just walk out your front door,
Yeah,
back door, and
yeah. And as far as like other interpretations, it'd be like, shit, I wish I could have lived here earlier. It's not, not going to be enough time.
yeah, right. Damn it, I wasted all those years and hate Ashbury. What was I doing? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really funny for me. I a lot of my friends tend to be older than me normally by a decade or two more, and I don't connect with that as much because I can, you know, none of us know how long we have the whole like memento mori. Remember, you could die. Who knows? Maybe I walk out the front door and a bus hits
Hmm.
me. But I'm just always like, okay, yeah, you could. Oh man, you could regret. Oh, I wish I I'm finally enlightened, you know, and I wish I could have figured this out in my 20s or whatever.
Or the opposite. That's why I can't kind of like what somebody was saying on the meeting last night. I can't get enlightened because then that won't justify, not being
All the
enlightened
hard
before.
work.
Yes,
Yeah,
all our
exactly.
work. Yeah, I like that stuff. Yeah,
It's like incompassionate to my past self to become enlightened now because that would mean all their turmoil was like for nothing, right? Like I didn't need to go through all that.
yeah. And the example was
Yeah.
actually a guy with a very practical one about being uncomfortable in bed, kind of thrashing around, and he just realized though that it was just part of that, needing to be uncomfortable so he could get comfortable, like to.
Yeah. Oh, I heard that. Yeah, yeah,
Is he
yeah. I was
okay?
on the
Yeah.
call last night and I laughed out loud. Like so hard. Was that Gary? I think it was Gary,
No,
right?
No,
No,
it was Lucas.
Lucas. Okay. so that made me laugh, and then Gary made me laugh with
Yeah,
he
he had
goes,
something
you know,
similar.
yeah, where he goes, you know, you know, when you want to have a problem so that you can solve
Yeah,
the problem and feel
that's
better
what.
about it.
Yeah.
I laughed
Yep.
out loud
Yeah.
because it's Paul's message 101 of like once you find the solution, you realize there was no problem, right? And the
Yeah.
mental's logic idea is I wish I had a problem I could solve so I could feel better about solving that problem. But like what if you just there's
Yeah, and
no
then just
problem?
somehow
You
not
should take it
noticing
for
that starting point, right? And then, like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. And
Yeah, just,
it's great to hear that people share it, or like, seeing examples of it, with other people, and that
yeah,
just that impersonal dynamic. It's just,
yeah.
oh well.
Yeah, that's really funny. I kind of had a moment like that this week, in a different thing. I'm in this group, this like YouTube guy. He's a very motivational, like he's all about. It's funny because we talk about identity and stuff like that a lot, and Paul stuff. But he's like, imagine like your dream character. Like what would be if you could pick the perfect life for Mike or the perfect life for Nick. Like just allow yourself to dream in that sort of kid way, imagine that character, and then like make an identity shift into that character. Just like as an exercise, right? For fun. The
Hmm.
kind of the idea of like if you could be a hero to yourself, what would it look like? And then like just start doing it. Just start pretending you're that person. Right?
Yeah.
Just yeah. And so I was talking about how I'm really enjoying writing a lot. Like I'm feeling like at a identity level, Nick is like a writer. I'm doing it every single morning. It's really fun. I like time goes by really quick. It's like not a struggle. Like it's like a flow state sort of feeling. And all of a sudden an hour goes by and I get a lot of those like shit, did I write that moments, and it's not that the critical thoughts don't come in and start beating me up of, who do you think you are to say that you're a writer and all the
Mm.
usual stuff, right? But yeah, I had a moment when I was talking with this guy and I go, yeah, I want to write and I want to put stuff up on YouTube and I want a podcast and da da da. And I just given it this I hadn't and I say all this and then I go, and then I also work like 60 hours a week and I have kids and this and that. So I don't have a lot of time, but I'm like asking him, how can I do it all? Because he's this successful YouTuber guy. How can I fit all this into this time? How do I prioritize yet again?
Oops. Wait, hold on. Did you hear me? 'Cause your sound cut out for me. Is it my internet? Uh,
Oh, you're
oh,
back.
now,
Can you hear
now I
me?
hear you.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
so did you see me freeze?
No, but I couldn't hear you. You were like muted.
Okay. Yeah, that was
Did I
weird.
did I freeze?
No, and that seems to be happening here where the audio cuts out for me first, and I see the people okay, and then I can't tell on the other end,
Hmm.
whether I've
Oh
frozen for
yeah.
them or
Yeah.
not.
I
So I'm always like, I'm not sure what's going on. So yeah,
it's
you saw,
a,
so you
a
saw me
weird
moving the whole
rhythm.
time?
Yeah, I saw you
Huh.
moving and you were like
Okay.
muted.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and then often it will say right afterwards, internet connection unstable. This time it didn't. Maybe it was something else. So
Huh.
anyway, you were saying that you were asking how
Weird
you can
little.
prioritize,
Yeah, and
and
then and then like he said the super obvious thing of like, well, just don't try to do all that other stuff and just write. Like that seems to be like what's the most fun, the most rewarding, yada yada. Because I was thinking about this thing, like dream talking, unconsciously I was making it too serious. Like I want to talk to this person and that person, and
mm,
it's a lot of emailing back and forth and it's a lot of work. And he was like, what if you just didn't worry about it? Like it was just a thing for fun. You didn't have the energy on it. And you took all that and put it towards this other thing that seems to be more rewarding. And it was like a Gary saying, I wish I had a problem so that I could solve it and feel better. I was just like,
yeah.
oh
Well, I mean that goes to like then the age old thing in recovery was do the next right thing, but that doesn't make sense. Well,
yeah,
worries are rational. I mean
of
you can't get
course.
around that.
Yeah.
So, but then you can appreciate somebody reminding you, right? And like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That is it's always the answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like making peace with it. Like sometimes, you gotta. I get this. with my friends all the time where they're like, yeah, I got this problem, I got this problem, I got this problem. Okay, I'm just giving up on it. It's done. I drop it and then it's solved. Like,
Mm.
it's almost comical. Like again, we almost laugh at it. But you can't in that Zen way, you can't create stillness with activity. You can't be like, okay, I'm surrendering and then like peeking, did it
Mhm.
work? Like you gotta really fucking surrender. You can't bullshit yourself out of that kind of stuff. You know?
Yeah, it's different planets because because I mean you can't not try to bullshit yourself out of it because I just back when I don't know very yeah
Yeah. Right on. So
and
I'm just go ahead.
yeah and the tendrils that thing can have like Greg has been so funny in this context with the sale of the house went really well. I mean not according to him I'm sure fast. We didn't even put it on the market, right? Lots of stuff like that. And then we got here, and there wasn't a lot of houses for sale. But it's March 11th, so it's still winter time here,
Mhm.
and so right away he's like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm depressed, and there's it's not they're not going to come on the market, and this and that continued to be the case. But this one showed up. We were there the next day, and within a few days, we were grabbing it, and we really like it, and things are going fine. But he's sitting here talking to a friend and talking about, what I I don't know what we would have done if I mean, because houses are still not coming on the market. But what it would have been like if we hadn't gotten this house, like the talent to be able to
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Just but to him, it's not talent or anything like that. It's just like it's totally realistic,
Yeah, yeah,
meaningful.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
From where you stand, it's like, yeah, the problem solved, and you're sitting here going, but what if the problem wasn't solved? Like,
yeah. So yeah, it's
yeah,
funny to think about how Paul always, that's what he says over and over about people calling with their problems, right? Even ones that
yeah.
are supposedly more still happening,
Hmm.
they're really not different.
Yeah, actively.
They're actually not different the way he did it, you know.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's a little bit out of the box compared to how people do it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But you follow them all back. They stem from butt, right?
yeah.
You know.
Because he was telling that to our friend that whose house we're staying in, and they share a certain worry. In fact, that's what she said was, I thought I was a professional worrier, but you take the cake here.
Yeah. You're
Mm.
worrying about things that didn't happen.
Didn't
Like,
happen, and yeah. Mm.
yeah, could have, but didn't. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I just have this image in my head, man. Of I gotta come over there and visit you guys sometime for sure. Because I'm just imagining walking out into the woods, like you
Yeah,
said, the lake. It sounds so beautiful. Right on, man.
you
I'm
definitely
really
got to.
happy for you guys. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
really happy for you guys. I think I heard Paul say last night that he's planning on going out to New York area.
Yeah, yeah. Dover,
Yeah,
New Jersey, and I don't know if he mentioned New York itself, but he's going to contact the people living in Great Barrington and see about coming up here where I am.
right on. Yeah, that sounds really nice. Yeah, since you guys left, have you when you I think he got the trailer after you guys left, right?
Yeah,
Have you heard about the trailer?
heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, haven't seen pictures or anything though.
Oh, I'll send you some pictures.
Okay.
Okay, I have some. Yeah. So I think I dropped you guys off at the airport, and then it was like that Saturday I went by his place. And it must have been the next following Saturday he bought the trailer. And I went by there after a talk and spent like 5 hours there, got all of his electrical working. His next door neighbor came by. We're like under there getting the plumbing working. We're getting soaking wet and
In the
stuff,
trailer?
like in the trailer. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it was a fixer upper?
It was a total fixer upper. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
I
it's
didn't
like
know that.
it's a 1969, what's it called? An aristocrat. So it's like it's not an Aerostream. Those are the classic, smooth. I think it's aluminum. This is like kind of ruffled. It's kind of like an offshoot of the Aerostream, but it
Then is it
it
a
looks
trailer
really
or
cool.
its own driving thing?
It No, no, it's a trailer. You have to pull it.
Well,
You have
really?
to, yeah,
Have they
yeah,
have they
yeah.
pulled it anywhere besides home?
No, no, no. It's just been in the driveway. But
So just
but
for
Paul's
future.
I've never seen Paul get into a project like this. Like he's put in probably 100 hours, maybe like an insane amount. He just lives in there. Like I think all he does is talks,
Oh my gosh.
zooms, and then goes because he
Huh.
loves the painting side of it. You know,
Is he painting
I
it?
think I'm. No, yeah, he painted the complete outside, sanded the whole thing
What
down,
color?
painted it all. It's like a turquoise,
Oh my God,
and
you're kidding. I didn't know you liked
yeah,
turquoise.
it looks. I'll send you a picture, man. It look. I wish. I don't think I took it before, but
Hmm.
I definitely took an after he painted. It looks like it's right out of the '60s, like classic 1960s, but restored, really clean,
Hmm.
and
Oh
yeah. And so
yeah, it's a
I've
good
just
color for that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I had two separate days that I think three actually total that I went I worked, drove over, went to the talk, went to coffee, went to his place, and
Hmm.
then put in like 4 or 5 hours working on electrical things. We had the last one, we pulled his the refrigerator out because the refrigerator wasn't working, and he's putting a new one in. It's like a, I don't know, maybe 3 foot by 2 foot 1960s, old freaking 60-year-old refrigerator. And we got it out. We couldn't get it out the front door because the radiator was attached to it. So we're like trying to get the radiator off forever. And then finally I just go, "You got a hacksaw?" He gets a hacksaw. I start cutting it out.
Trash anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this, like, we put tarps down. They're like painter tarps, thank God. Because once we started cutting through it, this like 60-70-year-old radiator fluid started coming out, and
Yeah.
like I was like sure we were gonna pass out. That it like hit my face, I like it felt like it would have scorched my eyebrows.
Wow.
Paul like run out of the trailer like, oh my god, that would have could have been bad.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was just the two of us, and then Amelia was in the back. Um, I guess like shopping online, and Paul was giving her a hard time about, we could have passed out and died in there, and you would have been here
She was in the
just
back of the
chopping
trailer or the
away.
back of the house?
No, she's in the back of the house, right? So
Oh, okay.
she's like on, because the
Not
trailer's in the
even not
front
even
of
aware.
the.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she came out like 2 hours later, and we're both like, because it got to the point where I had to go in. I'd hacksaw for 30 seconds to a minute, and then the smell would be too intense. I'd have to go back out. I had like respirator on and stuff.
Wow.
It was fun. We've had some adventures, is what I'm getting at, since since
Jeez. So is it
had
if
some
it's
fun.
got a refrigerator, does it have a stove?
Yeah, it has a stove,
How long is
a
it? How
gas stove
like
top.
compared to the driveway? How long is it?
It's like, I think he says 20 feet long, 20 by 10,
But like
something
in
like
the
that.
driveway,
It's pretty
it's in the
big.
driveway, right?
Yeah, it's like halfway. It like takes up half the driveway, basically.
Half the length of the driveway. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
humongous, but
Not humongous, but it's big, and it's high, which that's what Paul said he liked about it, was he could stand in there. Him and
mm,
Amelia both pretty tall. They can stand without having to duck.
jeez.
It's really really nice little thing. Yeah, yeah. And he's talking about like when people come by, they can sleep there, and
Right.
maybe Amelia's son, Federico.
That's
Yeah,
the
that he
older
could
one.
maybe stay out there. That's the older one. What's the younger one?
Marco, I think.
Mario.
Yeah. Marco.
Marco, there it is.
Yeah.
Marco maybe can, sleep out there, have his own place. It's cool. It's a fun little project for him. It's just fun to see like another side of Paul, that he can like have a project and work really hard and be like obsessed with it. You know.
Did you get it for free?
No, I think he got some crazy deal for it. I know that like he some rich Mill Valley person bought it for you know whatever the market price was, like probably like $9,000, and then they were just in way over their head. They didn't know how to fix anything, and so they were just trying to get rid of it, and they gave it to him for like half of that or something like that.
Mm. Oh,
So
good.
yeah, so
Hmm.
yeah, they're talking about towing it down to Death Valley, and staying in the desert, and it's been a cool little project.
I wonder. So you think
So
it would be very towable with the Priuses?
I don't think so. I think they got to get something.
Get something else. Yeah.
I could imagine that little Prius hurting trying to
Yeah.
tow it.
I was just because I just got a
Yeah.
hitch for the Chevy Bolt because I saw some stuff for free that we're gonna need to or want some stuff for the new house, and I was just frustrated because there was a great couch I would have taken, but I had no way to get it.
Yeah,
So,
transport.
but I still, I mean, I
Yeah.
still, it's I still got to find some kind of trailer, and I don't, I don't know that the Chevy Bolt can tow much of anything.
Yeah.
But I'm halfway there
Depends
with
on
a
how
hitch anyway.
charged it is.
I can tie a
Yeah.
rope around it and drag it,
There you go.
put it
Good
on
for you.
get a plywood base, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. What's the charging port situation like over there for the electric?
There's not as many, but we've just charged here at the house a lot, so that's
Hmm.
fine because we go about an hour's distance, but if we don't go every day, that's plenty to just plug it in while we're here.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I've scouted out a few. But yeah, like we'll have to see if we want to do trips like to Boston or New York, which are 2 hours.
Hmm.
But then we could charge there. Those places I'm sure we could
Yeah,
find
go
chargers.
there, charge while you're hanging out, and then come
Yeah.
back.
So
Yeah. How long of a drive would it be to like New York City or
it's a little over
like
2
Boston?
hours to, I don't know about to what part, like, I don't know, like the near side would probably be 2 hours
Hmm.
into Manhattan. And we're going to go to visit a friend uh, a week in a week and a half. So I'll let you know. We're gonna take the
Right
train
on.
down, and then Helen, whose house this is, she's driving separately. She and her husband. So we'll come back with them, and I'll see what that's like.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm thinking a trip out, hang out with you guys, go to New York City. I've never been to New York City.
Oh yeah, that'd
I'm
be
a
cool.
baby when it comes to traveling, so yeah, that's calling to me a little bit. That could be really
Yeah.
fun. So so okay, just go a little bit into podcast mode. I'm gonna ask you an interview question. Um, how do you how does it feel being geographically so far from San Francisco? Because I know you were there for a while, right?
San
How
Francisco?
long did you? Yeah, how long did you live in San Francisco?
Well, I'm from born there and only lived
Yeah,
in the suburbs, 45 miles
like
away.
Livermore, right?
Yeah.
Livermore, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay, you
So,
froze up.
oh, you're froze up too. I don't know which one of us it is.
Yeah. Okay, you're back.
Uh, okay.
You hear me?
Yeah, I
So,
hear
but
you.
and then I went to school. I went to school here in Boston, so that didn't make didn't that initiated me back then. And then yeah, now especially with being faceless or headless or whatever, right? It doesn't and all the the Zoom conferencing, right, with people in different places. Uh,
Yeah,
it actually feels almost more natural somehow because like when I would be talking to people and they're in that time zone,
I
and
know
now
what you
I can
mean.
be there. I'm there where they
Yeah.
were. So like now I'm somewhere where I was supposed to be. I don't know.
No, I'm so if you were in San Francisco right now and I was here in Oakland, this would feel really weird. Like
Yeah.
if you're like, I would just get in the car and drive over there, right? Yeah, I know what you mean. It does feel it's funny how COVID did sort of prep us all for this way of seeing reality of like
Yeah.
you live where you live on your little piece of the rock and then you go to the little portal and then everyone's right there on the
Yeah,
other
it's like
side
I
of
was
the
trying to
portal.
find, they have the time converters. They should have one that just says when, let's say, using the equator, something a country on the equator, that's facing the sun, noontime, right? And that's the reference
Mm.
for anybody. Instead of saying 10 p.m. my time, 7 p.m. your time,
Ah,
you would just say
yeah.
that. Yeah. And then and then you just have a kind of a good feeling for how it's the same instead of having to
Yes.
jump back and forth, right? I mean, you do still have to
Correct.
figure it out for yourself, but
Uh-huh.
it's a shared reference that way.
It feels like it takes one piece out of the equation for sure. If you just had the time, like
Yeah,
especially for doing it's fun. Yeah,
yeah.
especially for doing this kind of stuff. It's funny because I still call Keith, maybe once a week or so, and
Oh,
we
cool.
have big long talks. And he laughs about. I always will because for a while I was mixing it up with him. I would say I'll call you 3 o'clock your time or
Mm.
2 o'clock my time. Finally, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pick one and stick with it. I'm only gonna stick with my time. And he's like, it still messes me up every time. I still got
Yeah,
to go back and double check the message. And yeah,
yeah,
it's we're only an hour apart, and still it just messes with your brain to think, you
yeah.
know.
And you've got any kind of dyslexia, it's just forget it.
Mhm. Yeah, you'll roll it the other way. You're 3 hours behind me or ahead of me. Um, yeah, that was like, so you said tonight you have a Course in Miracles thing that's 10 p.m. start for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
actually
I
been a
know you're
little
a
harder than
night
I
owl.
expected. Yeah, I'm a night owl, but it kind of
Yeah.
fucks with like when I eat and when I'm planning to go down in front of the TV or whatever. So that is a like
Hmm.
last night I was really tired on the Zoom meeting. So
Yeah.
but it's okay because I am a night owl. So
Yeah. Right on. How are those Course in Miracles meetings?
it's good.
How are they going? How
That's
many
like
people show up normally?
it's just me and three others, and one is I met him when I found the Course in Miracles group out in Pleasanton, Livermore, in Body, and got to be 10 years now. So it's nice to have
Oh, wow.
that continuity. And he and his wife were big parts of my life and very generous and having the weekly meetings and stuff. So it's really nice. And then and he's gotten really involved with it. So he does a whole bunch in the course now, and is friends with kind of a I was going to say big wig, but it's well known person that does even more in the course community, named
Hmm.
Bruce. So he's really well versed. That's great, to have somebody that really has it down.
Yeah.
And then a friend of his, that's a really nice guy. And yeah, so it's a real like privilege with them, and like to have it small and consistent. And it's great.
Yeah. Have you been doing it for 10 years consistently, or is this a newer
I
thing?
wouldn't say consistently. I did it. So 10 years ago, I decided to really take it up again because I had tried it like in 95, 20 years before
Hmm.
that, whatever. Um, and then this was a time, with meeting with them and doing a lesson, most days, the workbook part of it,
Yeah.
that was a real in-depth thing for probably 2.5 years. And then since then, it's been just these meetings with the friends and stuff. Whoops.
Nice.
Still hear
Oh,
me okay?
I can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear me? Am I frozen?
Yeah, there's some video freezing there. Are you
I,
there?
if I'm gonna freeze, I might as well freeze in a good image. Right on. Okay, so getting back to interview mode. So to be honest, I don't know. Most of what I know about Course in Miracles is through Paul. I've never
That one
read it.
page that he always repeats.
The one page, yeah,
The brain of which the body is a part.
which is really good. I mean, I remember the first time that one really landed. That was a a big mind blower. And it's funny because everything that he says from it, everything I hear from you about it is always really good. It's interesting. I've never gone and picked it up and read it, but I feel like people have done all the work. Just give me the good bits and give me the highlights, and the highlights have served me pretty well. But having said all that, if we're going interview mode, tell me your history with A Course in Miracles. Like 95, you first came across it. What was it? Kind of the feel
Yeah.
and stuff, and yeah.
Um, which was like the first time with a certain kind of serious spirituality that um, I had gotten involved with therapists that segued into him being a mentor guru. But it turned into an abusive thing, right? Where and it involved physical contact and using drugs.
Oh shit! I never knew that story. Wow, this is going back in the 90s.
Yeah, so it would probably be 94, 5.
Okay, and this
Yeah,
was so going way back, and I think we talked about this before. It was so long ago, I forgot another dream talkings. But you grew up like Christian, right? Like
Catholic.
fundamentalist Christian,
My
Catholic.
family
That's it.
was Catholic. Yeah,
Catholic, yeah.
yeah,
And then you sort of rebelled against that. That didn't quite land with you too well in your earlier
yeah.
20s
Teenage
and such.
years, just like, well, yeah, it's mythology. So wasn't
Yeah.
hard to drop.
Yeah. And then this is sounding like this relationship with the therapist was your first sort of re-initiation with the spiritual type element in your life.
In a serious way, because certainly I kept
Yeah.
up any interest in religion and
Hmm.
in different forays. But it's hard to say, but especially in
and
context of
and there were psychedelics too, I'm sure, before the therapist.
oh well, in fact, I went to the therapist because the drug use
Uh-huh.
was so bad, and he kind of I had the idea, and he presented himself as conscious use of drugs. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not wrong or whatever. Don't just stop,
Mm-hmm.
as the abstinence model. Uh, but then, so like part of this idea of conscious use was then using it intimately together, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
and I had I got pretty freaked out, and I had finally before that I couldn't turn to other people because it was I liked the out of the box idea, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can't go to the conventional people to complain about it.
You can't go back in the box
Yeah,
to say,
exactly.
hey, it's crazy out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
They go,
but the
yeah, no
freak
shit.
out,
That's why we tell you to stay here in the box. Yeah.
yeah, and with the freak out, did I did end up thinking I just gotta respect the freak out and just tell them I can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But since I had gotten really curious and into it, and what things he's presented and stuff like that, and I would read books, on my own. And when the Course of Miracles came up at that time, it's like, oh wow, this is making sense, and that ended up, and so all that stuff ended up having me give credence to him again, and I went back,
Mm-hmm.
and but that only got worse, and so I did a suicide attempt. I just had no way to get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then after the hospitalization where they required me to go to rehab, that's when I started with AA and 12 step. So yeah, so that put an end to all that, the course and him for
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I didn't do the course until this time, like 2015 ish.
Yeah.
That I, for whatever reason, all that memory and curiosity and whatever, I decided to
It
do
was
that again.
kind of too scary to step back in there because you've seen how far it pushed you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it even has like a comment in there about the care of who and how it's presented to, because some will try to destroy themselves,
Yeah.
you know. But just knowing
Yeah.
that doesn't keep you from trying to destroy yourself, right? It's like,
Exactly.
oh yeah, it makes sense to me. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, they get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh man, I first off, I appreciate you being so honest and vulnerable to share that, and I think that's really valuable. I've seen you before in Paul meetings, have people come up with, sometimes I just feel like I want to put a bullet through my head, and people will bawl talking about suicidal thoughts, and every time you share, it feels so like genuine. Like there is not a lot of uh what's the word I'm looking for, self-consciousness about like,
Mm,
this is the parasite, this is
right.
the conclusion of the mental state is I gotta get out,
Yeah.
and this can't get me out, drugs can't get me out, whatever can't get me out, then the logical conclusion is put a bullet in your head, and it's it's really cool to have somebody that can be so honest about going through that process and really getting on the other side of it and saying like, yeah, like being able to laugh at it is the ultimate fucking healing. Like it's fucking insane. Yeah.
Yeah,
you
and
know
to
and
appreciate being able to, to the to take self consciousness and be able to talk about it instead of be in it.
yes,
You know, that's all.
100%.
That's all that was self consciousness, right? In various
Yeah.
ways.
Hmm.
So to yeah, I mean, and it makes sense why you have to have care though with how it's presented, to whether you present it to people or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
because it can be taken as more self-consciousness.
of
Like,
course.
oh,
Yeah.
it's just self-consciousness. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I am that, because when you're completely identified as this thing that's self-conscious, and you go, you're just being self-conscious. It's like, oh, I'm not just being that. That's what I am. I'm identified as that, right? They believe that to the core of
Yeah.
their being.
I'm the one that knows that. That's,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I already know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So of course you got to be very, it's a delicate art form, I'm definitely not saying I'm a professional at it at all, but I've seen you talk with people. I've seen Paul talk with people in very um graceful ways about it. And I remember certain people brought up suicidal thoughts to Paul, and it's so beautiful the way he'll be like, um have you considered just being of service? Like,
Hmm.
get a dog, take care of the dog, go to a soup kitchen. And it's like one of those real simple practical answers of, it's like, just, you're not going to solve thinking with more thought. You're not going to solve self-consciousness by being self-conscious about your self-consciousness. Like,
Yeah.
take that energy and direct it towards something else. And it's hard to beat being of service as a direction to direct that energy somewhere else. And I mean, you're another great example. I mean, you're of service, and I don't think Zen Bitch Slap would exist post pandemic
Yeah,
without
that's such a
you.
perfect example though about how it can't be at all. Like to me, that still falls on the like being told to do that. Like, yeah, I know, and then I did, and it didn't work. And so, like to have backed into it, so to speak, just
Hmm.
loving the message and the gratitude for it all coming together in the way that it did. Then
Yeah,
there's just not going to be that availability. I like that way that Paul puts it. Right, you
like
are
being
available.
available. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but yeah, he loves recovery, right? And so that, for the people that discover through some kind of instruction, be of service, and then they get the relief and they appreciate it and it works, and it comes together that way. I get the bumper shot. I get now,
yeah,
whereas before I would be
yeah,
just pissed and, and frustrated why, it didn't fall that way with me. But
yeah,
now I'm good with it.
yeah.
And
You
totally
could,
appreciate Paul that he does that too.
yeah, you could be scrubbing the floor and going, what the fuck do they think they are, making me scrub the floor?
Yeah.
This is this is menial work. This is da da da. Or you can be scrubbing the floor like, oh my god, like, I'm being of service, like being in heaven. Being
Yeah.
that kid playing in the park,
Because
scrubbing
I
the
did.
floor.
I went,
Yeah.
like, I volunteered on Alcatraz weeding,
Hmm.
still would, you know, just be upset that didn't work to stop me from drinking, like going there with a hangover, like, fuck, like feeling worse about myself. I got my first guinea pigs, because,
Uh-huh.
okay, you want to have a pet? And
Yeah.
that was smart that it was guinea pigs because I couldn't feel too bad as like a big dog or something like that. But I would
Yeah.
like, I'd be, going on meth runs, and the poor little things would be running around my room pooping, and
Yeah.
and I would look at them and they would be judging me, like,
I love both those stories, because setting out to get relief and then having resentment that it didn't give you relief.
yeah, exactly, yeah, the thing that, yeah, and being so then appreciating Lucas and Gary and Paul with
Yeah.
recognizing there's got to be something, just looking for that serious problem, like,
Yeah.
I gotta have it. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
so
Wow. Right on. Okay, so getting back to the story of Mike here. 15 years between uh that crazy blow up on the spiritual side, the Course in Miracles, and then you come back around to the Course in Miracles again 15 years later. During that stretch, what was, were you sort of keeping spirituality at a safe distance? Were you sort of not touching it? What was that time like?
undoubtedly back and forth, and especially with AA, the I mean, there's just so many different time periods, and it, probably the number of times that I thought I was going to go back to AA, and it would, I'd make it to one meeting, and then 2 years later decide to do that. Okay, I'm going to go back to AA, go to two
Yeah.
meetings, So really, I mean, to be totally demoralized, right? That's and how you know, and you're sure you were demoralized plenty of times before that, right? So what does that even mean,
Mhm,
right? It's
mhm,
like
mhm.
it's really pointers, right?
Yeah.
Because all I can say is that when this time I went and then I kept going, I was back in Livermore, so it was a change of environment, not living in the city, a certain amount of you know more natural setting
Yeah.
and a you know
Maybe like less
certain.
less temptations, less.
I don't know because I was by that time I had actually stopped using drugs so much,
Mhm.
but I was still like having up to a bottle of wine a night, which with my sleeping habit, that just had the pillows over my head, into the
Yeah.
afternoon kind of thing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so that was, Trader Joe's was just down the block, so so the temptation, right? It was for
Yeah, it was
that
still
was
there.
there.
Uh-huh.
But just yeah, something about this density of the community. It wasn't overwhelming with too many people, and
Mhm.
there was still some good community there. Like my sponsor was right around the block, which
Oh, that's awesome.
like kind of like knowing what things are meant for you, like that. The idea of picking up the phone was just there's something I can't do it that well, and even though I could also be scared of like having to go see somebody in person, there was something that I could do that. So like being able to walk around the block and have my sponsor, be that kind of uh, uh, intimacy, availability, whatever
Yeah.
that I could do. So
Yeah.
so that was a big part of it, right? So something that's the best I can wonder about if there was any reason for why then that ended up
Yeah.
being a regular part of a nice community and staying sober for years.
Yeah, it's funny because we always don't know, right? And we always tell the story afterwards, but it was the time when it was the time, you
Yeah, and
know.
especially in connection
Yeah.
with non-duality coming in, or Course of Miracles and non-duality coming in a couple years later.
Hmm.
Um, that all kind of seemed like things fell into place for that.
Yeah, to sort of allow that to extend
Yeah,
the traveling letter to extend through time.
yeah, that it couldn't
Yeah.
be focused on the sobriety, which was my bent anyway, but nothing had you know filled my attention enough or interest enough, love
Mm.
or whatever,
Hmm.
to actually be that until you know so and it wouldn't have happened if I had aimed for it, right?
Of course.
As opposed to like having seen the in the rearview mirror how it was expressed in recovery,
Yeah.
so that it could make sense as it was presented instead of trying for it.
Yeah. If Mike the ego was convinced he needed it, then it wasn't gonna come. But
Yeah, just like
it
with
was,
recovery,
yeah.
it hadn't really worked, and I wasn't happy in
When
recovery when I got to that sober period, and so yeah,
yeah.
it would have it needed it was meant it seemed to be in the wings. Is that what you call it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready to come.
So okay, when you say non-duality, was Fred Davis the first in your non-duality world?
Yeah, yeah, and such a
Yeah.
like it's surprising. I didn't even know the term non-duality,
Uh,
except
uh-huh.
when I ran across him.
You know what? I think me too, actually. I think I had kind of heard it now and then, but it really landed with me when and I came across Fred way after you, obviously. I think 2017. I heard my first Fred video, and that laid the seeds for my first Paul video about 6 months
Oh, I
later.
didn't know that. I didn't know Fred was early
Yeah,
on for you. Or I
yeah,
forgot.
yeah. I didn't connect with him. The first time I ever talked to him was when you set up the Zoom podcast that we did together. That was the first time I ever actually talked to him. But yeah, and I think I told the story on the podcast we did with him. But I I had heard. I think I heard the phrase non-duality somewhere, or awakening. I was big on awakening. That was it. It's funny. Our stories are a little tiny bit paralleled in that I I grew up religious-ish, different, cult,
Religious-ish.
metaphysical, new age, new age energy, but also fundamentalist, Jesus, Christian. Jesus is the only way. And then I rebelled against that, for almost like a decade, like a good 9 years. And I was in the atheist group, in the group, not really. I could convince myself I'm atheist. I don't believe in God. It's all bullshit. Energy's all bullshit. Science is the way, And I went to a therapist, the first therapist the only therapist I ever actually really connected with and did some real major work with. And I only knew him for about a year. But he brought up Kundalini. One time I was saying something, he goes, "Have you ever heard of Kundalini?" And I go, "Yeah, that's some of the shit that my cult used to talk about. It's some hippie, new age stuff." And he goes, "Okay, well, just read this book or read this whatever. I think maybe you're having a Kundalini awakening, right? Or you had a Kundalini awakening." And this is coming from a Western therapist. This isn't, he didn't lead with this. This was like 5 sessions in, And I remember when he said that, this is again, we tell a story afterwards. Who knows what whatever's really writing this story says, but what the real reason was. But I remember feeling that, like I'm a kid again. Like I remember very distinctly before that, I used to love music when I was in high school. Like I remember music would make me happy. I'd want to dance. It'd be at this energetic thing. And I remember being in my mid-20s and like going, I don't like music. Is this what it means to be an adult? It doesn't bring me joy. And it would be like 1 out of 100 songs when everything was just right, weather was right, I had the right thing to eat, I got enough sleep. I'd hear a song and then I'd feel like this. And I remember I used to have that thought, I'm happy. You're happy, Nick. Soak this in because this is really rare, right? To be happy. And your screen froze, but you got a big smile on your face. Can you see me?
Can you hear me? I can see you and hear you.
Okay, I can hear you. Okay. So I remember having these thoughts, and so he says, I think you're having a Kundalini awakening. And from like the moment he said that, I watched a few YouTube videos on Kundalini stuff. I read this book that he recommended, and I remember hearing music again and feeling like a kid. It's like, oh my God, the music's bringing me joy. Like I'm happy. And this thing that was this very rare felt like this accident where, oh my God, everything lined up and I'm happy. It started happening like every day. Right. And I started meditating again. I was like meditating before, but it was like just a chore because it's like one of those I have to do it things. And I was like finding joy in meditating. Meditating became like my favorite. I started calling it going home. It's like I'm going home. Like this is,
How long would you do it for a chore?
How would I do? How long
of a period was the chore phase?
Oh, freaking like 10 years.
And how long would you do it for?
Like 5 to 10 minutes. Just
long enough to be a chore. And no more.
Just long enough to resent the fact that it wasn't doing anything for me.
To really stew in it.
It's fucking bullshit. But yeah. So anyway, through a therapist, I sort of, had a spiritual awakening. We can call it that. It's not, textbook or whatever, but I started similar to the feeling of when I found out I have no head, of like feeling like a kid again. Like, oh yeah, I remember this from when I was a kid. Life's fucking cool and beautiful and the grass is green and the sky is blue and I'm happy. Like for no good reason, I'm happy, not because the usual reasons you get happy because you bought a new car or you're going to go to a concert or whatever, so I started following stuff that said awakening. And then one night I'm looking through podcasts and I see this thing called Awakening. What's his channel called? Something Awakening. Awakening Now?
Clarity Now. Awakening Clarity Now, ACN.
Awakening Clarity Now, yeah. And so I go, Awakening Clarity Now. I download it. And, it's funny because I remember the first morning I listened to him was the first day of my new position in my career that I've been in for the last almost 5 years. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting synchronicity. And the first video I listened to from Fred was where he started off with like, what I'm what I'm going to tell you in here is not the truth. You want to know why? Because it's words. And words can only point to the truth. They're not the truth themselves. And I remember going like, oh God, I kind of feel like I've been waiting my whole life to hear somebody admit that.
Mm.
It's like it was like that thing under the surface that I kind of already knew, but I never really heard anyone just say so
Yeah.
confidently and so boldly. And so, and I started listening to his stuff, and then I would have real crazy energetic stuff, like where it would almost be scary. And this is no drugs at this point. I think maybe a little bit of marijuana every now and then, but that was it. Like no real heavy psychedelic drugs. And it almost got to the point where it'd be like this thing of, okay, I kind of want to listen to him because I like the rush, but I'm kind of a little scared because I got to drive later because I
Mm.
got to like do some stuff. So, like
Lightweight
Fred,
you.
scaredy cat. And so Fred became like a little drug for a little bit. Yeah, and then uh, it's funny. Paul came so late in the game. I don't know how I overlooked him, how the algorithm didn't put him in front of me on YouTube, but I was listening to Muji, Adyashanti, Rupert Spire, all the other guys, right? And then one day I see like this Zen bitch slap. Like, oh, it's funny. Let's give it a try. And I started listening, and I was like, what? Because the audio quality was so bad compared to everything else. Like it seems very home movie-ish. And I listened to this guy, and I'm like, oh, he's entertaining. I don't really, the typical Paul star. I don't really know what the hell he's talking about. Like, but he's making me laugh. He's entertaining, and then I've told this story before, but uh, it I like just somehow accidentally downloaded a bunch of talks, and then my phone would automatically Bluetooth to my car or my work truck in the morning. And so I would just come in, and then I'd turn on the car, and then Paul would just start. It wasn't like a conscious like play. She would just start, and I'd be like, oh, I'll keep it on and I'll listen to it. And yeah, it just fucking soaked in there.
Hmm. Oops, my audio cut out. Can you hear me? I don't have audio. Yep,
No,
maybe.
okay.
Oh, now you're back. This time the audio
Hey,
cut out, so I couldn't hear you.
okay. I say same thing. I seen your lips moving, but I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, interesting. So Fred came in how long ago for you? This would be
So I think that sober period started in 2012, and within 2 years, this is the way I kind of put it together. I had run across his book, and then immediately got into him, and then within 2 years after that, I was doing and then that led to doing the course again.
back to the course. He's big on the Course in Miracles too, right?
He had done it like Paul. Well, I
Yeah,
don't know how much Paul had done it, but I think he had
yeah.
done it pretty.
You came across Fred Davis through a book?
Yeah, because I had remembered from my previous recovery experience that somebody had written a good book that I remembered as Beyond Recovery,
Mm.
and that's what he's titled his book. So I misremembered the other one that was something recovery, you know, and so very fortuitously, coincidentally, right, that I misremembered what was exactly his title.
But it got you to the right book for
It
you.
was, yeah, to his actual title, yeah,
Yeah.
which was an amazing book, and then he had his web presence, lots of good stuff to read there, and he offered Skype one-on-one meetings, so
Hmm. Hmm.
that introduced me to that whole possibility.
Yeah. 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 He was ahead of the curve on the Skype stuff, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Most people were doing only in person.
yeah,
Mm. So this is 2014. Interesting. Okay. So 2014 is Fred Davis, and then getting back into Course in Miracles.
yeah. So that was
Okay.
2016, wait, 12, 14, 16, 18. It's probably a little shorter, more like a year and a half probably. So, because I know I've been going to Paul's must be 5.5 years.
Mm.
So I didn't go to him until, in fact, just before him, with recovery, I'd been going to my sponsor's Monday night meeting for a long time. That was great. And I was going through that, like, I don't know though if I should keep doing this, and how do I know, and whatever. And then there was a non-dual meditation thing that was the same night, and I had to go try that out.
Mhm.
Liked it, and then that's how I ended up doing that for a good half a year, and then I think it might have been just because that was a little bit of a drive, and I wanted something at home in the city. So I might have just Googled Paul Hutterman. I mean, not Paul, non-duality San Francisco.
Ah,
That might be how I found him.
oh wow,
Yeah.
right on. When you first started going, was he doing it at the church on?
Yeah, that's what was so cool,
Yeah,
right? Like, oh wow, this is
I
right
know.
here.
Oh my God, yeah, that church is so cool too, right?
Yeah.
I miss that place. I've been talking to Paul. He says he might start doing it one night a week back there, and I'm like, really? I'm probably the biggest advocate for that because I all my favorite in-person Paul memories are sitting in that little room with the cool
Yeah.
acoustics, you know, and then walking out afterwards and the church, with the chandelier and all that, and then going to B Star
Yeah,
afterwards.
that was
Those
a
are
real, real privilege.
those are yeah, yeah, really nice nights. Right on. So so Paul's only been 5.5 years. Is that
I think
right?
so.
I
Yeah,
think so.
at
Because
least at
let's
least
see. So
that.
because it's been it'd be 4 this month for me. And I think you had maybe had a year and a half or so, maybe 2
Yeah,
when I met you.
sounds right.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy, man. Wow. 4 years, 5.5 years. It's like that, and it's also I can't imagine my life before Paul too. It's really like thinking about a different person, you know.
Yeah,
Pre-message Nick, like yikes. Just you talk about yeah, one of the layers of hell.
yeah. I do have just,
Okay.
and there'd be. I mean, it wouldn't be traveling lighter to go ahead and try to conjure up what it would be like, if right? But there is that kind of like absent, noticing by absence. There is a kind of like, oh wow, what would it have been like?
we're doing the Greg thing about what if we didn't get the house, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's maybe not the best mental exercise. Okay, I wanna. How much time have we spent? An hour? You got more time, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
good
yeah.
until.
Okay, until your Course in Miracles. Let's talk a little bit about Course in Miracles. I wanna, since you've been doing this for a decade or whatever, almost. Um, how has it served you, like from your subjective no head view over there? What has the Course in Miracles done for your
Well,
traveling?
definitely, as Paul emphasizes, by the failure, right? Yet another
Mhm.
failure that I like. I was having a little more interest and enjoyment than recovery, but it's a little bit of a feeling of either there's something wrong with me, or there's some bullshit going on, right? That like people hadn't said what you quoted Fred, right? Like, and yet so it's like this. There's something that just very overblown about Course in Miracles.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so it really fits then too that would be what serves as failure. The length of it, the complexity, and while at the same
Yeah.
time saying that this is a simple course, not meant for intellectual hoops. What?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Fake fake
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
So I mean, so the amount of detailing that can go into it, like a lot of quotes, like what you quoted Fred, like that words can only be pointers, right? So there's something like when we had the discussion when I was high with accidentally with my friends and we're reading the course and I'm like, and this is all kind of really obvious, just like why are we reading this like that light is white light, like
Yeah.
okay.
Why did someone bother writing this down? Why are
Yes,
we bothering to read it?
like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean just so much of that, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, so that's just that's why I resonated with Paul, right? It's about failure, not about actually trying to get it. And then and then after Paul, now there's an appreciation of it, now there's humor to how we do want to state what's obvious while we do, right? There's,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
like we can talk, like we can appreciate, how fucked up it was trying to accept, and now we can appreciate, the atmosphere of acceptance, as Paul would say, right? And so we can say it's about accepting life, and that's just a level of language that we can go ahead and, I mean, everything's kind of obvious no matter what, right? It's like, the voice is
Mm-hmm.
sound, and yet we feel like we're saying something when all we're doing is making sound. I don't know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we can say things like that, and like whatever. It's nice to, like when Fred said, words are just pointers. Like, so just if something wants to come out that way,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's obvious. So
Yeah.
reading the course like that is fun. That's just where I'm at. And it can have things that don't seem so obvious unless you're high. Like that you're still trying to get, or you kind of get, and they're important to me and the friends that we have, right? That kind of like recovery about, not drinking. This is recovery about, um, not projecting and on others, um,
Mm.
and certain elements, whatever, gratitude and faith, that it puts the whole puzzle piece together. So, it, like someday it would, it'll just be like, okay, why do we bother? On the other hand, right now, it's still like, well, no, that stuff's not totally conscious or obvious,
Yeah.
that can actually have helpful ways to occupy the mind instead of pursuing those, projections and judgments and stuff like that. There's, a lot of that in the course that just feels like, um, you know, uh, putting the brakes on that. Skillful means.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It sounds like satsang. It sounds like right,
hmm
gathering in truth. So I think satsang means gathering in truth. And then the other thing I like to always tack on there is it's a reminder, right? We're here to remind each other, like, of the obvious stuff. Like, even as you're
Yeah.
just rolling through this stuff, I'm reflecting on like my day and work and family stuff and how lost I was and how much I forgot the obvious shit again.
hmm
Haha, like for the thousandth time,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and
The
yeah.
course is entirely different, though, from its premise of the practice and, the repeated affirmations or, thoughts for the day and stuff like that. So that's,
Hmm.
both part of the failure, right? But also a respect for, habit. So, like, even though
Mm,
Paul never mentioned this about the course, he does mention that, like, going to a meeting every day, and now it's a habit, and he
yeah.
doesn't he thinks which one, not whether he's going to go. So, it's a totally different beast than, like, the number of lesson affirmations there are, and especially while you're doing the workbook, how many times you're supposed to, like, up to every 5 minutes at some point.
Mm.
But there's a respect for the habit within the dreaming, the skillful means. Whoops, I might says it's unstable. Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you great. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear
Yeah.
me.
Okay. Okay. Good.
I hear you.
So it's a mixed bag as far as I still feel like I get some help, relief, or whatever, to have those practice thoughts be something I return to instead of going down almost any other trail about, thinking about tomorrow, or
Yeah.
grievances and stuff like that. Or in meditation, I'm getting to be too much of a chore, so I'll resort to, I am as God created me,
Yeah.
and that those things are all, and then the skeptical side would say, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. But on the other hand, it seems like it's a little harder for me to just not have those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
habit. It's funny because we haven't talked much about this because I kind of fell off like a year ago. Um, Habits have been a huge thing for me over this last year. I look at habits as like the train tracks for life, right? The
mhm.
dreaming for life. That, you know, I used to be very big on freedom, and I don't want to have a schedule. I don't want to have a routine, and this and that. And there's this guy. He's an ex Navy SEAL dude, but he has this book and this really cool idea, Jocko Willink, called "Discipline is Freedom." And that's sort of been the theme of my last life. Is like of my life the last year is, you think that having to be disciplined and having to do these things is like taking away your freedom, but it's actually allowing you to do what you kind of already know is best for your day-to-day life. And you don't have to like beat yourself up if you don't do it or whatever, but if you can like do it without having to think about it, it's better than the default, K-Paul, like Paul talks about. Or there's
Hmm.
this other author, Anne Lamott. Are you familiar with her? Bird by
I know that
Bird.
name.
Yeah, she's from Marin County. Her most famous book is Bird by Bird, but she's written 20 or more. And she's a AA. She's been in recovery for 20 years, whatever, and she calls it K fucked. Like you,
Good. Yeah.
that channel comes in of like you're fucked.
KFKD.
Yeah, exactly. and and habits can be an alternative channel. It will fail you if you think it's gonna
If it's
get you
your,
out of here.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
if you make it your god, a habit. But it's an alternative to hell. It's an alternative to K-fuck. It's an alternative to
Yeah.
business as usual. And it doesn't have to, it can't be perfect every single time, but it is better than the alternatives. And the nature of a habit is you do it without thinking. It's automatic, and it feels almost weird when you don't. So little things I do, like I wake up in the morning, I go and the first thing I do, I take my AirPods, put them in, and then I start listening to Sam's morning meditation, right? As I'm starting the coffee pot and making coffee and getting my clothes on and stuff like that. And it's like to hear his voice, to sort of center, uh get into that spacious place of I'm the screen, not the movie, and all that kind of stuff is so much better than just letting K fucked come on first thing in the
Hmm.
morning. It's like, you got to do this, you got to do that. They're going to come and get you. The monster's around the corner, and the, establishing that habit, like it's funny, like you knock that first domino over in the right direction, and all these other ones throughout the day can tend to follow. Sometimes, you get peace till 9, 10 a.m., which is better than, it's a
Hmm.
couple hours of peace and a couple hours of starting within that certain perspective. You know what I mean? And I've had other habits that I've established over the last year: going to yoga, exercising, going to sleep at the same time every night, and this and that. And
That I'm
it's
looking
it's
forward
so
to in the new house.
yeah, yeah. I bet. And it's just like having some tracks through the dreaming can be really helpful. And you don't have to be, it's not my nature to be like a hard ass disciplined dude. So the fact that I am it's sort of my nature to be a, freewheeling dude, but I'm choosing to put the train tracks on. It feels so much cooler. It feels very like, oh yeah, I'm in charge of my own freaking dreaming, my own life a little
Well,
bit,
that's the kind of funny thing, right? Too, because I'd say that would be the way I appreciate the course now about its use of forgiveness. No matter how much it is about not the old idea of forgiveness, the misused idea, it's about reframing. Like uh, there was habit that was repeated and got us into depression or drugs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Of course.
and to yep, and then so that makes it a forgiving attitude towards habit that realizes mind is going to reuse habit in the opposite way of
Yeah.
of downhill. and but there's still a funny element of how much that shows up in the dreaming as a discipline or a chore, right? As opposed, like, I mean, if you were just made up your mind, it would never, you would be doing it without reminding yourself, I'm going to be doing it, and I'm going to make sure I do it, and
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
back to it. You would just find it would be a story like what happened with the meetings with Paul. Never thought of making that a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. If you would have in the beginning, you would have probably resisted it and ran the other way, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
there
Uh-huh.
is something about, like, I don't, how much you're going to experience doing habits like you were talking about, because it is kinder, a happier way to live, freer way to live.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
that and but you can appreciate why for some people that won't work because it's still too much of the chore aspect. But a little bit of recognizing that duality or non-duality, right? So the chore and the freedom are actually not different. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
So there is going to be a falling into the habit to whatever degree, right? Because I still have a hard time with
Yeah.
the meditation and stuff like that. It's not a daily habit,
Hmm.
but you know, it did get established as enough of a habit that I can go do it. Not waiting years before I go do it.
Yeah.
Couple weeks pass, a month or whatever, and then so.
And there's not a lot of heaviness or weight around. Oh God, I haven't. But when it's time to,
Yeah,
you
so that's
do.
what I
And
mean about
yeah,
there's that weird dreaming in between space, right? That it hasn't been as easy for me as it has been for you, but it's been enough of a recognition that it's a freedom to be able to sit for half hour,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I could see why that would become more of a habit, if it does.
Yeah, it's funny. Ram Dass said, and this is kind of Paul. Paul, I don't think talks down about meditation in general, but Ram Dass says you don't meditate to become a meditator. You meditate to be free, right? And that's a cool little pointer of like, if meditation becomes something that binds you, the habit of it, then it's kind of defeating the purpose. Like, chill out, try something else, maybe.
Yeah.
Go for a walk in the woods or whatever. And yeah, but if it induces freedom, if it induces a lightning, then right on, ride
There's also
that.
that phrase, practice is enlightenment. I think that refers to the same thing. If you're
Mhm.
enlightened, what else are you going to do but enjoy breathing
Yeah.
and taking it easy?
Yeah.
And that looks like practice, but but it's going to be, if anything,
Yeah.
somewhat of a use of practice, because that it's freedom.
Yeah.
Oh well, I need
Yeah.
to tell myself
It's
it's
fun.
practice a little bit.
I
Okay,
just
good.
heard yesterday, someone telling a story about Bob Thurman. I think it's Bob Thurman, Uma Thurman's dad. He's like a
Oh,
Buddhist teacher.
all right.
Yeah, the actress. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's a Buddhist teacher. He's written a bunch of books and stuff. And this one comedian was telling a story about talking to him at a Ram Dass retreat. Again, Ram Dass, and him saying, practice. All these people are talking about their practice. 10 years of practice. When are they going to perform? Not just, and that's like the other duality of people. I'm really focused on my practice. I'm taking my practice really serious. This is that. It's like, okay, but you got to balance that out with some performance. And to me, I think a performance is like showing up in life, being available.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's where
being
the
of
practice is
service.
enlightenment, right? So practice is the performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that,
But
I
that does
think the
sound kind of
practice of
sad, though.
enlightenment is
When are they going to perform?
wait. It does, right? Or, well, I did all this to become enlightened just to practice. Like, come on. Right? The ego's take on it. Like, yeah. Can we pause recording for a second? And I
Sure.
got a message I got to get back to, and then
Oh, I got to do that, huh?
I'm gonna go potty.
Yeah, I'll go pee too. Pause. Stop. I can pause. And let's see. Just gonna center my screen again.
I can't hear you, but it might be me.
Oh. How about now?
Okay.
No? You can hear? No?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? All
I
right.
can hear you. Yes.
I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yes.
I was just saying I had to center the screen again and get Amelia in the picture.
That's nice. That's a nice shot right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was up over your shoulder first part of the talk.
Oh, there. Okay, so we're gonna practice talking again.
Let's practice talking some more.
See, that's the kind of thing, right?
One of my favorite
You have to practice talking. Okay.
I guess we could just sit here and stare at each other. I mean, do the Ramana thing.
Oops, you froze. Can you hear me? Oh, there you are.
Okay, there we are.
I forget what I was saying. Well,
Practice talking. I was when you said that, I was thinking earlier about how we started with play, and I was thinking about the difference between practice and play.
Right.
Yeah.
Just think of that. What if we were to say, hey, I'm gonna go play for a half hour, meaning instead of practice, I mean, instead of the word practice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play meditate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's really like another one of the habits that has been really big for me for about the last 5 months is writing. And it feels like play. It's like I'm you know the way that Paul talks about the message coming through. Like I feel like a hose, and it's just all the things I took like a little writing class that my friend introduced me to, and she paid for me, gave it to me as a gift. And people were talking about like writer's block and all
Mhm.
this stuff. And maybe it's because it's funny, again, talking about identity. It's like maybe because they identify as a writer, so they have all these reasons to beat themselves up for not having something to write about. But like, I never sit and look at a page and go, what should I say? It's just like always just like it's it feels like the hose is overflowing all the
It's a
time, and
lot,
then I got to get
right?
in front of the keyboard to like
Yeah.
get something out. And I maybe, who knows, knock on wood, maybe the experience of writer's block will come along. But like it's so funny, I haven't had anything close to it. Like it's just
Well, especially if I don't know, like if it's not an identity and there's like, okay, I mean that goes to like the habit and whether you're sitting down at the same time kind of
hmm
thing.
hmm
And so if you're making time for the writing, you're doing it at the same time, and you go that time, and you have a different experience of it not coming. But like
yeah
for most people that aren't having to, well then okay, you go out and garden or or
yeah
you watch TV or whatever. So um, yeah, that just goes to that weird level of the dreaming that we have a certain amount of of
requirements.
yeah, of living within the contrivances to say,
Yeah,
that you got to set the alarm and got to do this and that, and
yeah,
not everybody has a problem setting the alarm and getting up with the alarm, but then for some people it does. So
yeah.
yeah, because it's got to fall both ways.
Yeah, and I think of Paul's phrase "seed assignment." It's when something feels like a seed assignment. Like I could imagine that you probably don't too often, maybe never, have felt like, oh God, I got to go on and host this meeting. Like, it's
Right.
just, I can't imagine that coming up for you. It's just
Hmm.
like, okay, this is the seed assignment. This is what I do, and I do the
Yeah.
work. And yeah, it's I've only come across a couple feelings of the seed assignment. Definitely being a father, like just if I'm all the things that people. I don't understand how you can cook for your kids, every night after working all day. I don't understand how you can stay up with them when they're sick, do this, and that. And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's less now since the separation, but it never was a feel. It was just always like of course, like this is the seed assignment. Like I couldn't be anywhere else, even if I wanted
Yeah.
to or not.
I mean, once you're that uh, you take a bite of that apple where you make things that way, then whatever, self can't get out of self. But it's like with the cat, right? If I were to think, oh, like back with the guinea pigs when I had to have them as a pet, right?
Yeah,
Then it would be, oh, doing the litter. Oh, I got to go to bed and I have to do the litter. I forgot to do it before I go to bed. That kind of stuff. It can be just notably different. Like I can think about, oh, I forgot to change the litter and I got to go do it now. But it doesn't have the same hook as, like I remember with the guinea pigs and, other things that, like even meditation, right? Like it's like, oh,
yeah,
it's so weird. There's like that overlay that, for different people are going to be different. So like I still have that with going out for a walk, like, as opposed to, it's not like that overlay is not happening while I'm sitting in front of the TV. It's like, oh, what am I doing here? And it can, but there's a certain idea that is supposed to be the reward: sit and do nothing in front of the TV. That
yeah. Oh
you know
yes,
that even
one
though it's
hundred percent.
not really, it can add that overlay to like taking a walk. That, well, this is not the reward, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah, and yet I'm enjoying the walk really as much
More
as,
than 6 months.
yeah,
Yes.
so I can't quite get my hands around that, but
Yeah, I think we're fucked on that one, but yeah, that's yeah, no, the I love Paul's. It's like my go-to. I even write about it a lot. The mental ads, like the mental advertisement is my reward is. I always like to say, a mark or whatever, a Long Island on the beach, right? I'm gonna work my ass off so I can sit on the beach and have the Long Island iced tea, and then I'll be happy. That's my little joke that my friends and I at work say all the time. My buddy's going to the Himalayas actually, to Annapurna. He just flew yesterday. He's gonna go there for a trek around the Himalayas,
wow.
hiking every day and doing all this stuff. And so he had started planning that like 2 months ago, and I'd see him at work and we'd be hanging out. It'd be a beautiful fucking day, blue sky, birds chirping, everything. And he'd be sitting there going, God, I just can't wait to get to the Himalayas, and then just say like, yeah, man, and then you'll be happy, right? And we just constantly laugh
Yeah.
about, like postponing that happiness. Like it's available, obviously, right here and
Yeah.
right now, and it's available sitting on the couch watching TV, and it's available when you're out on the walk in the woods. It's that extra layer of the story of, well, this should be the reward. That's hell when it's like the reward is being able to sit on the couch and watch TV, and now I just feel guilty about the fact that I'm doing it, or I feel resentful like I do at the guinea pigs, or picking picking
Yeah.
weeds on Alcatraz because it's not delivering, right? And yeah, there's really just like there's something to seeing through that bullshit, seeing it as an ad, and yeah,
Yeah, and what like one of the habits, like, let's say like two basic ones to being, thank you and what is the will, for me, not to me or at me, but that includes
yeah,
me. And
for
it's
me,
it's
yeah,
kind of a little clearer to me that it's like if a bit longer is to say what is the good story, the happier dreaming story
yes,
that is available right now, and,
yeah,
and the ability to change it and be paradoxical, because like maybe the story would be, wow, I'm on the beach having vacation with a Long Island, right?
yeah,
And if your Long Island spilled in the next second, and you were and you still had some habit of like, oh fuck, life sucks. Yeah, to have that reflex of like, oh no, what is the happier way to see this, right?
yes,
And whether it's just laughing because you took it so seriously, right?
mm-hmm,
Or
mm-hmm,
you spill it, you see your some beautiful scene, or your the love of your life
yeah,
walks in your life at that moment, right? Or you wouldn't have that
yeah,
story at that moment, that comes later. But just like you're available to notice what is given and in a a more artistic, creative, happier
mm,
way,
mm-hmm,
because there's no reason force not to. That is
yeah,
presumed by the life sucks and you have to take a drink spilling as a catastrophe, or any kind of nuisance. So like
yeah,
walking along, like oh it's this is work, or or it's also Sisyphean, or whatever
uh-huh, yeah,
whatever that seems like a realistic annoyance.
uh-huh,
Okay, well, okay, what? Thank you. I mean, to that's that's kind of directed towards the past. Instead of ruminating about anything that you want to resent. Okay, so now the past is gone. Well, what next then? So then, what
yeah,
is the will? Because so both sides of where the mind goes. You know, again, the Course in Miracles, using that terminology. A forgiving way of using those things. So it's not that it's wrong
mm,
to have a a notion that there's a past, but you can use it as a thank you towards the past, right?
yeah,
In the same way, then there will be a a plenty good story coming at me. What is that? What is the will?
yeah,
And then the mind can rest, because like, okay, it's been addressed and it's not been ridiculed,
yeah, uh-huh.
or damned,
It's been
right?
like respected, yeah,
Respected, honored. There we go. Yes, I
yeah,
use the word. I
honored,
use the concept of honor a lot. So,
yeah,
um, and then what is the present then? because that doesn't make sense. There's the president is some indivisible thing. Well, but what's that? So what's what's a creative, happier, dreaming story
Yeah.
that's available, that's inclusive of other, that would have to be part of it.
Yeah, that's been a huge theme for me too, is what is the happier story? What's the better story in this,
Yeah.
right? Because we can make great stories about why shit's fucked up, and we can make great logical, reasonable.
Oops, right, you're frozen. Can you hear me? Reasonable. You're back.
Unstable. Okay,
As soon
I'm back.
as soon as you said logical, reasonable, you froze.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. uh, okay, we can make logical, reasonable stories about why shit's fucked up, basically. And but is it serving us? Is it helping us to travel lighter? That's why, like, the Paul's metric, Paul's like compass of traveling lighter. It's hard to beat it, man. Like, like, not do I feel better about myself? Do I feel righteous? Do I feel da da da? All that stuff is like really doomed to fail,
Yeah.
But are you traveling lighter? Like, if you run any scenario through that filter, you're going to get a pretty good answer of what's serving you, right? Things that are pointing to you traveling lighter or not. It's funny you said Sisyphus or Sisyphean. That's another thing. Me and my best buddy at work every day will always go, I got a pretty good boulder I'm pushing today,
Bigger than yours.
Oh, this is a juicy one. It's heavy, it's all lopsided and shit, it's a good boulder.
Yeah, it doesn't even roll right. That's right. I never thought of that one.
Yeah, it's funny. The duality of it. We have two things. One is I got this from Bill Murray. Did I ever tell you the I got another sunrise story from Bill Murray?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is over a year ago. This I don't recommend this, but I was on psilocybin mushrooms and I was watching YouTube videos. Bad combo. Recipe for disaster. And I was out in nature, and it was dark, so I went. I went to, like, kind of over by where Paul's talks are, out in the Marin Headlands, and I like to take them, and then it takes about an hour to hit. So I like to take them an hour before sunrise, so they would hit, and I'd watch the sunrise. Really cool experience. And for some reason, my head wasn't straight. I took it way too early. I took it like 4 a.m, and so they started to hit, and it was dark, and I'm out in the middle of nature, and every little shadow's like, turn it into a creature, and just not a good scenario. So I go, I'm going to distract myself, and I'm going to watch YouTube videos. And that was creepy too. The screen looks all weird and stuff. Yeah, bad. And I come across a Bill Murray video, and I remember looking at him, and he looked like his body looked like a corpse. Like, he looked so old, and like just almost like a zombie. But he tells this really beautiful story, and this story has stuck with me ever since, to where it's like a habit. It's like a mantra. I tell myself every day, I got another sunrise. So he was trying to be an actor in LA. He went to an audition, failed miserably. Like he had the last 100 times he'd gone to auditions. He's, doesn't got any money. He's getting ready to give up on life. So he says he walks out, and this is in Chicago, I think. There's a lake there, or the river, and he goes, I think I'm gonna jump in there and just fucking end this. And he goes, well, let me just walk along the river a little bit. I'll just postpone it for a few minutes. So he starts, frozen again.
I hear your voice is still on the.
Okay. I'll just keep telling the story.
I'll do if the voice stops.
Okay. So he's walking around, this Bill Murray walking along the river, and he stumbles upon a museum. an art museum. And they're doing free shows. He walks inside and he sees this painting. I don't remember the name of it, but it's some Russian, I think, USSR painting of a woman working in the field and a sunrise behind her. And he looks at it and he goes, you know, I think it was a few people in the painting. Those people don't have a lot of prospects. You know, they're working in a field in the Soviet Union. You know, they have way less prospects than I'll probably ever have and living a good life or finding, you know, meaning or anything like that. But they got another sunrise. They got another shot at this, basically, right? Another roll of the dice, another day. So I watched that video and I turned it off, and then I looked up and the sun started to rise.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, something about that always hit me. And I say it almost every day. I probably annoy my coworkers. They're like, hey, yeah, exactly. I feel like Greg, the last meeting. Hey Nick, good morning. How you doing? I always say, hey, I got another sunrise, you know? And so that's sort of the duality. There's I got another sunrise, meaning I got another shot at this thing. And then there's the Sisyphus, like, and I got a boulder to push, right?
Yeah.
You know, I got another fucking couple feet to push up the mountain before I get to the top and it rolls down, and then I get to do it all over again. And if I can have a smile on my face while I'm pushing that rock, then, you know, hey, we're traveling lighter.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Couple little habits to throw in there.
Yeah, I forget if we discussed that the Cadmus book title about, or I don't know if it's a title or the theme is I must imagine Sisyphus is happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that the Sisyphus myth is not meant, except that's one side of the boulder, right?
Yeah.
The other side is no, that's, you know, it's the attitude that's before that doesn't see it the same way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're playing ball, or you're dribbling, right? Ball
Mm-hmm.
bouncing, and you're gonna be pissed at the, you know, oh my god, the ball's just bouncing all the time.
Yeah. No, I think it's like one of life's fundamental, you know, you got to get that one right. Like, either if you think Sisyphus isn't happy pushing the boulder, then you're not ever going to be happy, because you're going to have boulders, you know.
Yeah, and it's self-evident, you know.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. I think it was maybe when I sent out those little weekly emails with the thought and the quote and this and that. I think I asked, the question was like, is life fundamentally fair, you know? And then what are the implications of landing on either side of that, right? And like you know, there's no guarantee. Like I said, you can make logical, reasonable explanations about how life isn't fair, but it's not logical to buy that ad, to like put your faith
The
in
whole
that,
ad, yeah.
because you're gonna suffer. But you can make a great argument for why life isn't fair and all that, but it's not gonna serve you. And like that's realizing it's not gonna serve you, realizing telling a good story is, you know, the only way out, is the only thing that's gonna make you smile while you're pushing that rock, while you're pushing the boulder up the hill.
Although that is interesting that the admission part, right? That, because you could be Pollyanna-ish about, you know, oh, you know, life is fine, life is being good, and why am I having problems? So in a way, you do admit that life isn't fair as that going through that window, right? That is just not holding it out there as though you're going to be exempt from it. I can be special and happy on my own. You know that, you know, the hurricanes of unfairness really, yeah, but I'm better. I mean, I'm different. You know, or for some reason. And well, no, you can't really hold that
That's
apart.
its own trap. Yeah.
So you end up like so life is dukkha, right? That's you know, which is, but that's, I hadn't thought of it quite that way before. It's I mean, I always didn't. I mean, I didn't like the idea that life itself was supposed to be that way. But that's still me. Like, you know, having that, like, it can't be. That
Hmm.
just can't be
Life
right.
can't
That
be
can't be the way
suffering.
to go. But there's that element of needing to do that at that window stage, so that you can then realize what you just said, right? But that's not going to serve if
Yeah.
if you get stuck at that window,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, it's again, you can't fake it. You can't
Yeah,
bullshit yourself,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You can't go, okay, I believe that life is fundamentally fair and good. And then you're peaking to like, okay, am I not suffering anymore now? Like, no, you gotta like,
yes, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, you gotta it's gotta fail you kind of in a way, right? Like you're talking about with the course and everything else. Like it has to sort of fail you for you to come around to being able to laugh at it.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Because the whole dreaming matrix is way beyond us, right? To ever
of course.
overcome the logic of the fact that it's not fair
Yeah.
within that dreaming matrix, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. So okay. Um I think we kind of told Mike's whole spiritual story and journey there. Pretty nice with some
As
nice
much as was
little
storied right now, right? Yeah.
as
I
much as
love
the story right now.
the concept that there's only every moment contains a reference to every other moment, right? So this is what created any story that seemed to
Yeah.
be in the past, and even the attempt to it's really just the point, whether it's a word or the whole story, right? Beyond what we're have any idea what's going on, there's so like I like the idea that a fossil proves that there was that extinct species. No, there is a moment that's whole unto itself that can reference and hold within it, the fossil, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that there was a linear, progress. The this whole context has this arising of a story that presents fossil
Yeah.
and not an actual extinct species that of course the mind can't get around that though. But yeah, otherwise though,
It,
it's just too hard
that,
to
that
like.
that's
What story would you say? Like how would you come up with a story?
well that's the whole like I love the idea of the past doesn't exist in the past. It exists now. The story exists now as we're talking about it, right?
Yeah,
And I love the idea of Malcolm
I
Glad. You
lost
know Malcolm
audio
Gladwell.
down.
Uh oh. How about now? No. How about now?
Oh,
I
frozen
can hear
now.
you great. Uh oh.
Oh, coming back.
Is it again?
Okay, and the voice is
Okay.
back too.
Good. Good. You did I freeze in a good position there on the second?
I still have video. I didn't. Yeah,
Good. Um, you know Malcolm Gladwell, the author. He's written a bunch of books, talking to strangers, and I'm sure you know him if you've seen him. Famous author, and a lot of his stuff he writes about how unreliable memory is. Right, a lot of people write on this, but he has a very cool artistic way of talking about like um, people think like I kind of have vague memories about certain things that aren't important, but really important things I remember really well. And he shows all this research that no, you actually are even worse on important things because there's like emotion and feelings involved and stuff. So you really shape it in a way that fits you, you know, whether you want to be the hero or the victim or anything else in between. Like, and there's a lot of research that shows like we just are so bad at remembering things for how they happen. And to a lot of people that freaks them out. They have this like existential crisis of like, I don't even remember how things
right,
happen, but I see it as traveling lighter. I see it as
right,
such a like, you know, that's and I think both of us have that similar thing. Like when we tell stories about the past, there's such a clarity that we're here now. The Big Bang here now is trying to you know, tell a story, use the Fred thing, use pointers, use these sounds coming out of our mouth to tell the story, to put
mhm,
some sort of a similar image into that mind. Like it's this total crazy psychedelic thing when you break it down. And it's like poetry. It's like art. It's like,
right,
my friend who's a novelist. She writes novels. She goes, her teacher always told her, we lie when we write in novels to tell the truth better,
Hmm.
right? That it's like, if you try to do a documented step-by-step method, you're giving this stale, dead thing over to the reader. Whereas like it when you like dig into what's the essence behind the story, what's the poetry behind it, what's the art, behind it, then you're giving this living thing that can like morph and shift inside of somebody's imagination in this really cool way. So, the art of storytelling is like such a cool piece of the dreaming, such a cool piece of recall and stuff like that. I think a lot in like maybe next lifetime I might be a director. I think in like movie scenes a lot. Like I can hear
Mm.
the song and I can see the camera shots and stuff like that. And I think of like meeting you, going to a Paul meeting, and it was in Marin, and it finished up and it felt a little weird and awkward, and like I felt like I was the youngest person there by a while, and what am I doing here? And you came up and introduced yourself, and we just totally like hit it off. I remember riding with you in the car, just yapping nonstop, get coffee, got Chinese food, and the whole like, who knows if that's really, if someone was sitting there with a camera recording it and they played it back to me, it'd be way different. But I don't care. I like the artistic expression of what that memory is to me, that movie scene, and the little glimpses of the feelings that I remember from that day. Like um it's Paul talks about this. I've heard a lot of people talk about, like, would you rather be right or would you rather be free? Or would you rather be right or would you rather be in love? Like I really don't care about being right. I don't like, I'd really rather be in love. I'd rather be
Mm.
free. And there's something about being able to have that relationship with your past story in that freedom way, in
Yeah.
that in love way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, yeah, again, just a story about being free now, right? So whatever
Yeah.
attempt that the past has to come up,
Yeah.
it you deal with it in this, in a free way that brings you back to the present, not,
Hmm.
like even supposedly good things into the past will be a trap,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, it was so much better then. Yeah.
yeah,
How can I get
nostalgia,
back
right?
to that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No. Yeah. That's like, I've had people, I have at work, I have a lot of guys that go, God, do you remember how awesome it was to be a teenager? You had no
mm,
responsibilities and this and that. I just always go like, no, like
mm,
I'll take right now
mm, yeah.
over almost any other, and like that is, this is like a knock on wood moment for me, but like that's a certain kind of hell to the nostalgia of, God, it was so much better when. Like, I'm
Yep.
so thankful. I almost always go, oh no, I'm gonna take right here, right now. Like this moment, this
Hmm.
this headless moment here beats any memory. I can enjoy those memories as a like movie scene, as an artistic expression, but I'm enjoying it here now. I'm not wishing
Right.
that I was there. I don't want
Yeah,
to
I'm pretty
take my stuff.
convinced memory is actually, to me, the first wealth that of, accumulation, right?
Yeah.
Very,
Oh,
very integral to the, selfing, to the self, right?
of course.
But once you see why, yeah, yeah, sure, yeah, $1 million would be nice now, but I also am not going to dwell on it. I know it really is just a delusion, right? And
Mhm.
so the same thing with any kind of memories, nostalgia kind of thing. I really don't, believe in it any more than $1 million is going to make me happy, you know.
Yeah, I know, like people talk about wanting to go on vacation to make memories. And
Mm,
it is like, yeah, it's like a
yeah,
wealth thing. I want to
yeah,
accumulate.
yeah.
I can hold on to these quote memories, and then
Right.
I
That's
can like,
Yeah, and you can see that how that was always the case, and that's why as soon as photography and videos became a
yeah,
thing, oh
it
yeah,
changed too.
my God, yeah, right. Even though people would have
Yeah,
thought that was crazy at some time, like, well, how's that going to help me? Or they wouldn't have
yeah.
imagined it. Except
Mhm.
it's okay. Well, that's one way to accumulate it.
Yeah. Wow. No shit. That's a good one, man. That's a good insight. Um, okay. Do you need to eat some food before you go on to your?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. I think we put in a good hour and a half or something.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I'm not too hungry. I'm not tired. That's the best. And
Yeah, you
got
look,
the
and
cat
I'm
here.
not. I thought this, but I never got around to saying it. You look really good, man. You look very healthy. You look well rested. I think New York is good for the action figure.
Yeah, and I think this action figure likes to explore, needs novelty. Like
Hmm.
unlike Paul that talks about being able to walk the same 5 minutes or same
Yeah,
place for all the time. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I just really love like there's so much relatively new, and it's working for me here.
Right on. Yeah,
Yeah,
this action figure likes it too. So let's get together out there and explore some novelty together. I
that was
still,
so
again,
fun.
another movie scene that sticks in my head with you is going hiking up in the San Francisco
Mm,
hills.
that
You
yeah,
remember that?
Sutro Forest. Yeah, yeah,
Sutro Forest. Yeah,
that was so cool early on in the
those.
pandemic.
Yeah. Early on in the pandemic, those were like we would do Paul meetings, and then so I'm always kind of a little high
Oh
after a
yeah,
Paul meeting, and then we go out in beautiful. That was like a feeling like a kid again. Going through the. Sometimes it would get really narrow. You'd have
yeah, I
bushes and
remember that
trees
very
all
well.
around you.
I
All
remember
the.
that. But it's kind of funny, huh? Like, oh, I got a memory of something.
Yeah, yeah. Those are good. So
Mhm.
we'll do some of
All right,
that sometime.
that'd be really
Awesome,
cool.
man. How's Amelia doing? She
Overall,
like
yeah,
yours? Yeah, she looks
uh,
good.
yeah, she's been a really good cat. She's only has one more move to go. So yeah,
Very
she's
settled.
she's within a couple days she's herself and wants to be petted and scratched and fed and then
Right on.
sleep a lot.
Nice, nice. And Greg is doing good.
He had his health things that
Yeah.
he still has a hard time with appetite. Tomorrow he has an appointment, and he's got so many things going on. It might be, diabetes that has affected his kidneys. That's
Mm-hmm.
somebody mentioned that. So not as bad as it was like a year or two ago when he was really feeling not good, but he's not feeling good. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Well, I hope it feels
hopefully,
better, and I hope the move goes smooth.
thanks.
I'm sure it will. And it was really fun to.
Oops. Oh, coming back. There we go. Now I hear
I was gonna take. I was gonna take a picture because
you.
no. We the whole podcast was about not putting the bullet in your
No,
head.
reframed it, made it funny. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude, that's it. I mean, you can laugh at it, and you got it beat. It was really fun to talk, man. A nice
totally
extended time.
awesome.
It's been a long time since we had a good verbal jazz diving into the fun stuff together. So we got to do it more often than once every couple of years.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I love you.
Love you, Mike. Thank you so much, and be safe. And don't be a stranger. Give me a text sometime.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.